Are we all set then, Brandy? Yeah, okay, sounds good. So it's 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks, everybody, for attending another one of our Renewable Energy Vibrancy Fund Advisory Committee meetings. It is a mouthful. Now, I don't have my preamble with me, but we've done it before where this is all virtual. It's being recorded, will be available after the within a couple of days, I believe it was, wasn't it, Brandy? And for the public for viewing. So, and if anyone loses connection, if you need to go, if you could let us know so we can make sure we have quorum. And if we lose connection, we'll wait a few minutes to see if you can come back again. And if not, then if we have quorum, we'll carry on. So having said that, first item is the adoption of the agenda. Is there any additions or changes? Brandy or Phil? Nothing from you? Anything from the members? Seeing none. So I'll call the question. Everyone in favor? Sorry, I didn't get a move. Sorry, could I have a mover and seconder for that, please? For the adoption of the agenda.
I can move it and I vote yes.
Okay, thank you, James. Seconder, Joan, and I'll call the question for everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone in favor? And it is.
Yep.
Motion is passed. Brandy, I just realized I didn't do a roll call. With virtual, usually we do, don't we? Just for the record?
No, I don't think
Is it
that's necessary. I think
not
we
here?
can see everyone
Okay.
on. Yeah.
Okay, I get my meetings mixed up, I guess. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Is there anyone that needs to declare? And seeing none. Minutes of the 5th session of our held on February 4th, 2021. So the minutes were distributed with the agenda. Any notable errors or omissions? Or seeing none, could I move by Diane to accept the minutes? Seconder? Joan, thank you. Any further discussion on it? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? And
Yep.
thank you. And motion is passed. 4 and 5, there's nothing with those. So we move right on to 6.1 of the reports, which is the financial update. And is there anything, Phil, that you would like to add to this?
The only thing I would add is just to clarify for the wind electric benefit fund, the amount we accrued this year, that includes the accrued receivable, and that's the amount we received last year. We would expect it would be similar, but that has not been confirmed. But in terms of year end for our financials, that is the amount we accrued. So should be in that ballpark.
Okay.
At least
And
gives us an idea.
And the solar, does that include this year's, or is that in the same?
That includes this year, but that's kind of been the steady amount for the last 5-6 years. So that amount we know is.
That one's a given then. And
Yeah, that's a given.
so the wind electric one could change slightly, but we're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Okay. So any members that have any questions or comments on this update, financial update? Joan? Go ahead.
Do you know when we might hear back from Wind Electric? Is there a time that you normally hear back, Phil?
Last year, they sent us the calculations, I believe, in March. So I would expect something similar, March-ish, April, for sure. Yeah, I think there may be a requirement by the end of March. So that would be my expectation.
Okay, Joan?
Yeah, thank you.
And yes, Diane?
I would just move receipt of the report with thanks.
Okay. And seconder? Seconded by Joan. Any other questions or comments? I just have one question, Phil, back to you. With Wind Electric, they provide us with the power produced, and then we invoice them and then they pay us, right? So we'll know the end of March what it will be, but we won't actually receive it for a little while until it's invoiced and received, right?
Yeah, they typically pay it definitely within 30 days of us invoicing. So I would expect the money in our bank by the end of April.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that because the two are a little bit different. So I just wanted to make sure I was keeping it straight. So
Yeah, so for example, just the solar one we've already invoiced, so I would expect that money to actually be in our bank any day now.
okay.
And that's a good point. When you look at this, you might wonder why the interest earns pretty similar, even though the balances are different. But that's because, yeah, we don't actually have the cash balance of the solar is actually higher as of right now, or well, it was at one point, but that's why, yeah, if you're wondering the interest, but.
And the we've been receiving it for a while longer too.
Yeah,
So
it's, I
It
think
came,
we're up
it
to like
kicked
5
in a
years
little
now.
bit earlier. So, okay. Okay. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that. So we have a mover and a seconder, and there was no comment. So I guess I'll just call the question. Everyone in favor of receiving this? And
Yep.
thank you. And motion is passed. 6.2, renewable draft. Sorry, the review of the draft Renewable Energy Grant Fund Policy and Application. So at the last meeting, if I remember correctly, we went through the policy and made a number of changes, revisions to it, which I believe have all been captured in this. For some reason, so from you, Brandy, are there any points that you would like to make sure that we review tonight?
Yeah, so in making the changes and reviewing the minutes, drafting the minutes, I did note that there wasn't really clarification on multi-year funding. So I did just slip that in under 3.17. It's very vague, the wording I used, but I just wanted to kind of slip it in there for a discussion point.
Okay, that's where it was. I was trying to find it again.
Yeah, 3.17.
For some reason, when I highlight on this, when I go back, it ends up covering up all everything. So okay.
So under 3.15, we briefly discussed, and the final wording was funding for annual cultural and/or historical events, which are not capital projects, but promote tourism and or historical significance to the township. They would be eligible for funding, but we didn't consider other multi-year projects.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
I think we were going to discuss during the application period, like the review of the application.
Okay. Do the committee members still want to go ahead with the application and then come back to this once it's done, or do we want to have a discussion on this now before we get to the application?
Doesn't matter to me.
Joan?
Yeah, maybe now and get it over with, and then we can focus on the application.
Okay, sounds good. So, is there any thoughts from the committee members on this? I guess the one thing that we didn't look at, if there's multi-years, should there be a cap on it? How many years it would be able to go for and what the criteria would be. Is that correct, Brandy? We still have those. And in 317, as Brandy noted, it's just put in there, considered on a case-by-case scenario, which can be done, but it does leave it very open. So if we want any kind of wording in there to narrow the scope a little bit, then that can be a discussion as well. Diane?
I read 3.17. Thank you for including that, Brandy, and thank you for pointing it out. It is vague. It is wide open, as you said, Jim. But in the absence of anything concrete to consider, I don't have a problem with it being that wide open at this point, unless anyone else has other suggestions, because I don't actually.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comment or Joan?
I think it's fine the way it is. I have no problem with that.
And I guess with this being a living document, after we go through a couple of them, we may realize what wording could be added to help streamline it. The one other thing that I was wondering with this is, do we want to set any kind of upset limits for funding? And I know the one comment I made at the last meeting was, if we receive applications and there's one comes in and it says, you know, I want to do whatever, and I'll need funding for 10 years, 15 years, and it's going to take up, they ask for 3/4 of the funds available. Do we want to set anything like a percentage of the funds available would be available for multi-year, or a time limit, so that multi-year would be considered up to, and I'm just throwing numbers out, up to 5 years, up to whatever. If we leave it too vague, then it does leave it wide open for whatever. So, sorry, who is, somebody?
Yeah, just me. I think that is a very good point. I was kind of thinking the same thing. And yeah, just throwing numbers out there. Maybe we do put we got the money coming in for what, 20 years. So maybe do a, I don't know, 3-year limit, and then they would have to reapply fresh if it continued longer than that. But that 3 years seems like a long time for a multi-year project anyway, right? Like, you can build a lot of stuff in 3 years. And then as far as funds, maybe like total multi-year commitments can't exceed, I don't know, 50% of funds available. Would that seem fair to everybody else, or?
Just for clarification, James, were you meaning 50% of the total available for the 3 years, or?
50% of the total available, like each year, because it'd be each term, because we do it twice a year. So, but yeah, like only half of each potential allotment per year, I guess.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay. Diane?
There's already a maximum of $75,000 that we set would it be appropriate to make, I mean, that's per organization per year. So would that be a reasonable amount to have? Although maybe it's not high enough for a multi-year project, because that generally involves a major project. But anyway, that's a thought. Maybe the maximum cap would apply to multi-year capital projects. I don't know why it wouldn't actually.
So just keep the 75,000, and that's just the cap for everything, whether it's multi-year or a single year. Is that what you're thinking? Like
That's what I was
$75,000
thinking.
per $75,000
Yeah.
per year is what you were thinking? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for asking so many questions. I just want to make sure that I've got it straight.
No, it's
Now's the time. Okay, so merging those James and Diane's ideas, it would, what I'm hearing is it's been suggested a three-year time frame with a limit, upset limit of $75,000 per year. That, I'm just summing up what I've heard. So any other thoughts or discussion on it, or?
Now, would that be like the 75,000 total, like in the multi-year, like multi-organizations? Say you've got 3 different organizations or 4 different organizations looking for, I don't know, X number of $1,000 a piece. Say you've got 4 organizations looking for 25,000 a piece. That'd be over the 75,000 limit for the year. So one of them wouldn't get it. Like, would that be an example? That makes sense, or should we, or is it 75 per organization per year?
The way I read 3.16 is it's a maximum of 75,000 per organization.
So that's per organization. So now if we're doing multi-year things, they still get the $75,000 cap over the 3 years?
What has been suggested so far is it would be per year, but that we're discussing that. So
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it straight too.
yeah. So if you've got any ideas or whatever, feel free to share them. To save me going back and finding them.
Yeah, now so we're looking at the total multi-year projects though, right? Like we're kind of doing 3.17. So like if you've got 3 different multi-year projects, and I forget what was our income per year. It's up around 500 grand or something, isn't it? In that ballpark. So like I know they get dispersed, but I'm just trying to think here.
Phil, do you have it?
I think probably a percentage.
A percentage, did you say, James?
Yeah, probably it'd be safer to stick to a percentage of the total total coming in, just in case one of them has a bad year or something like that. And if we're doing all of the multi-year projects, just so they can't eat up all the funding, I guess it's only for 3 years, but still you could have 3 years where if you've got 3 big multi-year projects going, or 4 or 5 or whatever, then there might not be funding for like the single year things that only come up like once in a while or whatever. That being said, would it really matter if they could just apply for a single year anyway to get over? I don't know. Like maybe the vagueness is good, and just have council keep all this in mind when they're making their decisions on who's getting what.
Phil, the funds that would be available annually for this fund, do you have them right handy? I just don't have them right in front of me. Just save me looking them up.
I do not have the chart in front of me, no.
Okay.
Well, what was the percentage we allocated? I'm trying to read.
It's,
The
60, right? The amount, this amount
That's
will
right.
be 60% of the total funding of the previous year.
Right, so I mean, just looking at this year's income, assuming it's around the 630 range, 60% of that's 378,000. So 375,000-ish. I think it's a reasonable estimate.
Yes, Diane, sorry. Go ahead.
That's helpful information, Phil. I guess it makes me wonder what the likelihood would be of having several multi-year project applications at any one time. So, and again, they don't have to be approved. I guess I don't think it's too risky to leave it at 75,000 per organization, because the reviewing committee council might decide that only one multi-year project would be approved in any year anyway. I mean, I don't know, there's just so many unknowns that we just kind of have to take a best guess, I guess, and look at what might be reasonable given the likelihood of there being a lot of multi-year projects coming forward.
Okay.
That's all.
And I suppose too, like I've seen it with other applications for funding and things like that, where they might ask for a certain amount, but if there's a lot of applications, then you may look, like in a case like this, you might look at it and go, well, we only have enough this year to give, we only have 50,000 available this year, but then next year we can look at, the full 75. And in a lot of cases, if it's a multi-year project, the funding or the requirement for funding varies each year too. So it's a lot of times they can work with that. So there is that
Yeah.
option.
I think so too.
Okay. So any other thoughts then? Do we want to stay with the 75,000 for 3 years or make any changes to it? No,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
okay.
Yeah.
It gives us something to work with to start anyway. Okay, so Brandy, you've got that noted then, and okay. Brandy, is it easiest when we go through and make the changes? We'll just make all the revisions and then make a motion at the end for all of them. Does that work okay for you?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so if we aren't clear on something, be sure and.
Yeah. So we're going with merging the first option presented and the second. So organizations can be eligible for up to 3 years of multi-year funding with 75,000 per year. That's how much they're eligible to receive.
Yeah, with a maximum of 75,000.
Yeah.
And for 3 years.
For 3 years. Okay. Okay. Good. I've got a note here and then I didn't, did I highlight it? Was there another location, anything else in the policy draft, Brandy, that you wanted looked at?
Nope, I incorporated all of the changes.
Okay.
That was the only change that the committee hadn't discussed. So I think next would be the application.
So I'll just go to the member. Yes, Joe.
I just have a question of 4.14 A, where in the brackets it has education and health for the organizations offering service for which other governments have a clear legislation responsibility. Can you explain what you mean by health?
So that probably means the portion of health that is directly funded by like, typically that would mean like doctors or things like that, or
Okay,
things that are directly covered by OHIP that we wouldn't supplement, but there's other things with health that different communities do help with that isn't funded by OHIP.
okay. So I'll just ask does that mean a walk-in clinic? Is that covered by health?
There are communities that do have them that are funded, partially funded or enhanced by the communities, the way I understand it. Within our county, I believe we've got a couple that are, they're funded by OHIP and enhanced by the community.
Okay, so
To
they
make
would
sure-
still be eligible for applying for the grant, is that?
Well, we can clarify that term. health,
Yes, please. Yes,
we want.
please.
In this. Yes, Diane?
In the application, I did include a clause because we had kind of talked about it in terms of partnerships with other organizations. And maybe this would be a case where that would actually be a partnership arrangement. So, I mean, your question is a good one, Joan, because if it's not allowed, it's not allowed, even if it is with a partnership. But I guess I was thinking that, like Jim, that it probably would be allowed, and that it could be like a partnership with someone who does that sort of work.
That's kind of how I read it, was the basic health that's covered by OHIP would still be covered by OHIP. And then I kind of see this more as an enhancement or partnership, like you were saying, Diane. And
Mhm.
Okay, I just needed
Right.
that clarified.
if we're comfortable with that, then that's fine. And if not, then we can take a look at it.
I didn't know what they meant by health, so I wouldn't want, say, a walk-in clinic not be eligible because it is under the health category.
Mhm.
So that's all I'm saying. I didn't know if it just meant like doctors and hospitals and the obvious.
Yeah. Is there any other thoughts or comments from the other members? If we're comfortable leaving it the way it is? Sorry,
Well,
James?
worst case scenario, you could even like leave it all and then just take out the examples. That way, like what other governments have is a clear legislative responsibility. I don't know, it's not as defined, so like you wouldn't have to worry about, oh, we need to fund this walk-in clinic, say, but we can't because it says health in there. Like, you got to remember, it might not be us reading this down the road too, right? Like, we know what we need, but maybe they don't.
I agree with James.
Yep.
Just take it out.
Is that the consensus then of members to take out the examples? Diane, I think you were starting to say something earlier.
No,
Did
I'm
you
fine
not?
with that. I guess, I mean, it's a good point, and we don't want to, I guess I was also thinking, I think we have a clause there that says that kind of exceptions can be made to these terms, but we'd rather not get into that. So yeah, let's just delete those two examples.
Okay. That seems to be the consensus then. Okay, Brandy? She's nodding, so we're good. Any other things in the policy that any of the members wanted to discuss or have any questions on? Hearing none, I guess we're good to go to the application then. Do you want us to accept the policy first, Brandy, or just do it all at once? They're lumped together in the item, so do you want us to do everything at once?
Yeah, we'll do everything at once because the application is part of the policy.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Just want to make sure I'm keeping it straight. So when it comes to the application, I don't know why it does that. Yes, Brandy?
Diane generously went through it and provided some recommendations, so I can share the redlined version if everyone wants to go through it, or
Is that acceptable then to, I haven't read it yet. Sorry, I guess I didn't see it. Joan?
I just have a question about the dates at the beginning before you get down to where Diane had made some changes. I just wanted to comment on the period 1 and period 2 dates.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So I thought instead of February, December, because that's when Loyalist has the application for their other grant. And then you would know by the beginning of January whether you're accepted or can move forward. That was my thought pattern. And then for period 2, if you had it May, then you would know by June that you got it or you didn't. I just think that the applying for it, you're a little later in the year. I'm just dividing it like January as the first month and June as the second period. So that was all my thoughts about the date change.
Okay. Brandy? Go ahead.
So in the policy, 6.3, the applications will be available beginning of January, and they're due the last Monday in the month of February. So if we want to make changes to that, we would change 6.3 within the policy.
I got one quick question for you too on that. Just if you've got other things coming due, like other applications that are coming due and things all at the same time, is February a good month to have these applications finished coming in so you can get discussion, you're not like overwhelmed in at the council and all that? Because I don't know how busy the meetings normally are, but like you'd hate to lump it all into one, right?
Brandy? Go ahead.
So if applications were being submitted at the end of, like the deadline was end of February, they likely would go to the committee first as per the policy. So they would come in March or April, depending on when a meeting can be set up, and then they would go to council after that. So April, May, depending on how quickly everyone can get together. So essentially funds would be distributed hopefully in late spring, and then for the fall application, it would be before the new year.
Having the committee in there is going to set it back a fair. Yes, Diane?
So I guess it's that, and I think for the first year, we have agreed that those dates are not really relevant because are probably not relevant. Hopefully we'll get something going before then. But even if they, I mean, it would be great if period 2 could actually happen in 2021. But I guess to answer Joan's question, then from what Brandy said, if you applied on period 2, then you would be ready for a beginning of year start. You would have, no, I guess that's not quite right. That would be way ahead.
Well, I was kind of
Yeah, I
thinking
was
this,
thinking of the following year. Sorry, that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
well, I was thinking sort of the same thing, that if the one where it has to be in the end of February. Yeah, the last Monday in the month of February. So March, they'd be reviewed. By the committee would have to come to a decision, then it would go to council. So basically it could almost be set up that February deadline was for the mid-year payment, and the one that
Yeah.
came later would be for the January payment. So people would know ahead of time, if you wanted it for June, you would know at least a month before June that you did or you didn't have the funds. If it was set up this way. Yes, Diane?
Well, I guess that's what I was thinking too. On the other hand, it seemed like a very long period of time for an application. I mean, I agree, if they aren't received until the last Monday in February, and then to think that you wouldn't actually be approved until June is quite a long period of time. It would be great if there was some way of speeding that up. It does put a lot of uncertainty in the whole process.
I guess what I was thinking is they would know ahead before June. It's just the check would be cut in June. So once,
Oh, I see. Okay.
so
Okay.
that they would have probably they would know for at least 6 weeks probably whether they were approved or not. So then they'd have that lead time to be able to actually prepare for getting the funds for June and do the same in January. So if it was a summer, and I'm just throwing out a scenario so that I can keep it clear in my mind. If it was a summer festival and you knew by June, or if you knew 6 weeks before June, you were going to get a check at the 1st of June to do it, then you would know the funds would be available.
Mhm.
Yes, Brandy?
So the period to apply is 2 months, which is quite a long time. So we can look at shortening that. So applications would be due the 1st of February instead of the end of February. So then that way the committee could review them within February and then possibly even go through to council in February or early March.
I like that idea.
So using that scenario, would that still be that once that's decided, the money would go out? So if it went through council and everything was approved by the end of March, the funds would be available at the end of March? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
It'd be available immediately. Okay. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure I had it straight. What's the committee think of that scenario? Just shortening up the application time.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Because it's twice a year, right? So if you miss the first one, you get it on the second one, right?
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
what,
and then do we have it in there anywhere that says money will be dispersed kind of, I don't know, as soon as we can type deal? Or just kind of all up to how things time out, I guess. Like we don't have a definite date that money is definitely going to be dispersed by, say, June.
I don't believe we've got that, do we, Brandy? That's sort of where I was going at, is do we want to try to have times, like, do we want to say when the money would be available, or just the money be available once it's approved?
I would say money is available once approved. If the committee can't get together due to whatever circumstances, or there's just some unknown factors about how quickly it can be processed. So I would hate to say they'll be distributed within 6 weeks after an application's received, in case that can't happen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and
Yes, go ahead, Diane.
well, once approved, it could be approved, but then there is the time that's required to process the check run. So I think there's probably still those same sorts of constraints, but
yeah.
So it probably is at least a couple of weeks after that anyway.
Okay.
I think Phil's saying something.
Did you? Yes, Phil?
Yeah, just on that, the check run. So once approved and it's gone through all that, we do a check run every week. So essentially, once we get it, it would be paid by the latest the following week, once it's actually submitted. We do check runs weekly, so.
So it definitely would be available for them within a couple weeks or whatever. So that should work out good. So okay, is everyone in agreement then that we just shorten the application time and leave it that the funds will be available to the successful applicants once approved and able to process the payments?
That sounds fair.
Okay. Okay. So yes, Brandy?
So under 6.3, I will change to applications will be due the 1st of February. And if that should fall on a weekend, the following Monday. And then for the second intake, applications would be due June 1st. And if that falls on a holiday or a weekend, because not a holiday, a weekend, it should be the Monday following the weekend.
That sounds, yep, that sounds good, I think. So we'll change that in 6.3 and then it'll change again in the application then under period 1 and period 2.
We don't have a date that applications open up, do we? Like they can just drop off an application any time before the February 1st or before the June 1st or whatever we're doing. Like it's not open for just a month. It's you just whenever you get.
You know what? I remembered reading where they were available a certain time. Go ahead, Brandy.
So that's also in 6.3. Applications for the first round of funding will be available the first Monday in the month of January. And then the second intake would be the first Monday in the month of May.
But I guess if the applications are the same, they're going to have them anyway. Unless it's revised, they're going to have the application and can fill it out anyway and just have it. They just got that month to submit them. Okay.
That sounds fair.
So did you get that, Brandy, in both places on 6.3 and in period 1, period 2 of the application?
Yeah, I've got it changed to do the change under 6.3, and then I can also change that under the application.
Just imagine. Okay, good. Okay, good catch, Joan. Any, is there anything else, or do we want to go through the redlined document. And then if we've missed anything, if there's anything else we want to discuss, we can. Okay, do you have it there, Brandy, that you can do a shared screen? Now, the only trouble is with a shared screen, I may not see everybody. So if you want to, I may need people to speak then and not just raise a hand. I'll see how it goes.
Okay, I'll get it set up here. Does everyone see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Could I make a suggestion that the application numbers or pages be numbered?
Yep. That sounds good.
Or another way of doing it would be to number the sections within the application, which actually might be a better way of doing it.
Yeah, we can add those in. Hey, Brandy, just, okay, you can note of that. Okay.
Yep.
So, so going through this, I apologize. I haven't read the redlined one. I was pretty
Well,
tight
I
on time.
apologize for sending it out.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I hadn't. So I'm going to be reading it for the first time here. Just things were a little tight for me this afternoon, getting everything
Well,
pulled together. So, so there's none on this page that I can see then.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want me just to speak to them, Jim.
Yeah,
as I-
sure.
Okay, the first one where it said something like, please describe the clientele, or please provide a description of the clientele participating or utilizing your services. I just thought that seemed like strange wording. So I suggested the change to please indicate the target groups that participate in or utilize the services or programs that your organization provides. And then I gave examples, preschoolers, general public, seniors, etc. So it was really more for just to make it clearer.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments on that change, or everything's good?
Yeah, it's basically the same. The examples were a good idea though. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So the next one,
Yeah, there are quite a few spots where organization or associations needed to have an apostrophe before the S, but Brandy can go through those and pick those up. But I think I put a quotation mark there by mistake in that one. But then underneath that one, I added another one, which of course should be, it's not formatted properly. It should be in a separate box. And it says, please provide a copy of your organization's current year's budget and previous year's financial statement. we say that in the policy, I believe.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna, that marries in good with the policy, maybe. Brandy, go ahead.
Sorry, I thought that was included on the bottom.
Oh. It is, but I thought it was better to have it up front rather than lumping it in with the project budget.
Yeah, so it was included under, please provide a estimated budget for the project as well as your budget, like for the overall organization.
Yeah, I just
Just
thought
trying
it
to
would be
find it.
better. Yeah, it's right at the very end. It's
Right, in addition to the above summarized
Right,
projected revenue
yeah.
and expenses, please attach a detailed budget of the project and an organizational budget.
So you were just thinking clarity then, Diane, just to separate it.
Well,
You've got your
they're
organizational,
two very separate things. And, you know, we're talking up here about the organization and its mission statement and, you know, basically what it does and who it does it for. And it seems to me that's the appropriate place to have the financial information about the organization as well.
okay. Yeah, and that fills the policy too, so. Anyone else on committee have any comments or questions?
Fine by me. We're just kind of moving things around, so.
Yep. Okay, that's good.
Since we set right at the top of the screen right now, if applying for a renewable energy benefit fund, will your organization be applying for multi-year funding? If so, please indicate how much is being requested per year and for how long. Should we put a max, like our maximum numbers in there? 3 years, 75,000 per year or whatever? Just so that they can't ask for more, I guess.
Yeah. Brandy?
Yeah, we can add that in, or I can reference the section of the policy. Please refer to section 3.16 of the policy or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It might be simpler just to mention it again there, just for simplicity's sake.
Even if it's in brackets or something,
Yeah.
just.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, that provides clarity on it. Okay. So I think we're good to go ahead then, Brandy.
Yeah, I just had a question about estimated number of others that will sure. So it follows under estimated number of program participants and service users, estimated number of audience members and event attendees, and then estimated number of others that will benefit from funding. And I wasn't sure if that was intended to determine the spin-off benefits of the event or exactly who the others would be. I mean, I guess it could be if you had an event where you had like a vendor's market or something like that. It could be something like that. And it's really just a question for clarification in my mind, to know what's intended.
That would be non-loyalist residents, wouldn't it? Kind of how this reads? Like others would be classed as non-loyalist residents?
Go ahead, Brandy.
I was thinking more so along the lines like if there was an event happening and there was only, you know, you only had room for so many people to attend the event, like the Dry Stone Wall Festival. I don't know if they cap the amount of people going on the property for the event, but they're, you know, building a wall and it's actually going to benefit the whole community. So there's, you know, a benefit to the people joining the event, but then there's an also a larger benefit to the community as a whole. If that's a example, that would make sense.
Right. So that's kind of more more like the overall benefit that will come from the event then that's being funded, I guess. Yeah, I see what you mean now. I wasn't quite sure what that meant.
What if so we're kind of looking for what is the community benefit to what we're funding. So what if we change the wording to something like that? Instead of estimated number of others, say what would be the community benefit or the benefit within the township or something like that. Which in a case like what Brandy said, it would be potential tourism and local, especially like this, you know, the businesses on Amherst Island for people that come to view it in future years.
And I guess to use the example that I did, if it was an event that had vendors there, that would also be another example of people it would benefit.
Yeah.
So, and I guess if you put what is the estimated community, well, the community benefit, I'm surprised we don't have that already, because I kind of thought we did, but if not, if we extend it to the community, then, you know, if people are benefiting in a variety of ways in terms of whether it's exposure to you know, cultural event, or whether it's exposure to a whether they're selling something and are getting something for it, that's a broader benefit. And it does have, if others, please describe, maybe that's how we capture that. But I kind of like the idea of bringing it, having some wording about the community in there.
Okay. Brandy, go ahead.
Just reading down below to the next box, it says, please describe the impact your project will have on Loyalist Township. So that's kind of saying the same thing. So, I mean, we could merge that box into that and remove estimated, and that last sentence, estimated number of others that will benefit from funding.
But above, Brandy, if I may, or Jim, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
So the heading is, how many Loyalist Township residents will benefit from your project? So estimated number of program participants and service users is covered. Estimated number of audience members and event attendees. So maybe we don't even, unless we wanted to include estimated number of people from outside of Loyalist Township who might attend, or something like that. Other than that, I would suggest we just delete that last one as all entirely.
Delete the line that the estimated number of others that will benefit from funding. That line, you mean, Diane? And the red line?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Although on the other hand, I mean, I'm just thinking, imagining someone who might be filling this out and having a hard time figuring out exactly what that means. But maybe it's just fine, and maybe we'll get some interesting answers, and maybe those others will be tourists who want to come for whatever event it might be, which is usually a welcome thing. I don't know, maybe it's fine just the way it is. I was just trying to figure out what the intent of the question was.
I guess
I'm happy to withdraw that one.
for me, I kind of like the red line version if we're going to leave it in there. Just because if I was filling this out and it said estimated number of others that will benefit from funding, like I'd be looking at it and going, I don't know what the number will be, because you may be looking at as a dry stone wall where it could be future. So who knows? And if you don't know how many, but the way the red line is this intended to determine spin-off benefits? I
So
mean,
I meant that as a question, then should we change it to, can you estimate the spin-off benefits from your project? Benefits for others from your project or something
Yeah.
like that.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, is changing instead of is this intended, which could be just answered with yes. It could be how is this intended, or something like that, like you were saying. So unless we figure it is covered under the next box.
Mm-hmm. What about estimated number of others who will benefit from funding? Through spin-off benefits or something, through I don't know. I'm not sure how to word that. So usually when I do that, I'm happy to go back with as it was written, but I don't know. How about in the next one? No, I don't know. I'm not sure what to say about that one. It was really just a question of what it was about. If we want to take it out, there's no harm in it. And it might, I mean, if we want to take out my question, which wouldn't be in there anyway, but if we want to leave it as was written, it just might provide some interesting information that we weren't expected. I guess I was just thinking it might be hard to answer, but.
And I can see it.
I think that's all I have to say on that one.
If I was filling it out, I'd find that a very hard thing, and it'd be a very hard thing to justify, because I'm looking at it also, if this committee is looking at it and somebody says estimated number of others benefit from funding, and they put in 10,000 and just put the number in, does that 10,000 mean anything?
Oh, well, it follows on looking at an estimated number of people, like program participants or audience members. So yeah, I agree. The others is pretty vague then. Estimated number of.
That's, the more I read it, the more I wonder if it is covered under the next box. Please describe the impact of your project. Please describe the impact your project will have on Lila's
Let's
town.
let's take the others out. Let's take that one out, the one we were just talking about.
So you're saying leave it estimated number that will benefit from funding? Or do you mean take the
No,
second?
I'm saying just. And if we want to know how many people who are not township residents who will benefit from funding, then I would say leave it in. And then I guess we would say estimated number of non-residents who will benefit from funding. And I guess it's not specifically from funding, it's benefit from the project. And is that what's intended?
My 2 cents on this is This funding is for the benefit of Loyalist Township. So if it benefits somebody from outside Loyalist Township, that's a bonus.
Okay,
What I'm looking for is the people, the businesses, the organizations within Loyalist Township. They're the ones that I want to see benefit from the money. So, and again, this is just my 2 cents. I'm just throwing it in there. So if it's a function that's going to draw people from outside the township and they're going to be able to enjoy whatever it is, a Canada Day parade, a dry stone festival, a music festival, a fair, that's great. What I'm looking for is the businesses and the organizations within the township. That's what I want to see succeed too. So, yes, Joan?
I will move. Okay, sorry, Joan.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't know how you would know that number when you're putting in an application.
No, I don't think you would.
And how to verify it.
I suggest we eliminate it
Okay.
and delete the whole thing. So that would mean there would be nothing after estimated number of audience members and event attendees.
And then we leave in, if others, please describe. And that way, if people know that there's something else that they want to throw in there to help, they can. But if not, just leave it blank.
Okay,
That just gives the option that if somebody does know something, Garrett, we can,
so tell us what they know.
it may or may not change the outcome, but it may be helpful information if it comes down to the final decision. I'm thinking.
Sounds good.
Okay, Brandy?
Yep.
So we'll remove line 3, including the red line.
Yep.
Okay.
So I moved, Blair, talk about, please tell us about the people involved in your project. So it's how many full-time staff, how many part-time staff, how many volunteers? What is the estimated number of hours that volunteers will contribute to your project? So it's just kind of tidying, I think that making that question a bit clearer. And then I added, describe the work to be done by paid staff and estimated hours for each type of work. And the examples were administration, construction, maintenance, etc. So just to flesh out the details a little bit of exactly what the applicant has in mind.
So was your intent there to try and determine what is more is what it, like a community, where the volunteers run a community organization instead of just instead of a business? Is that what you were thinking?
Well, yes, what I was thinking is that this is more likely to be submitted by a community organization that doesn't actually have paid staff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there might be paid staff hired as part of a project, but normally, I mean, I guess I was thinking that it was more geared towards volunteer organizations, but if there are paid staff, it's covered. And then this just clarifies, instead of it saying how many hours will volunteers contribute to your project, it's first of all, it's asking for an estimate rather than saying how many, because you don't know. That's really all. And also then the other thing was just to describe the kind of work done by paid staff, because I'm not quite sure. Again, it's hard to envision a project, but if you're hiring staff, then you want to know. And I think it's just tidying up that section.
Okay. Any
I like it.
Okay.
Like, I think that's all good information to have, just in case, like she was saying, just gives you a good overview of kind of what's going on. Like, if they have a whole whack of hours and stuff going towards labor essentially, and they're only asking for so much, like, you gotta wonder if it's worth it, I guess. It just kind of gives you that extra perspective.
That was my intent, to give some idea of how the money's going to be spent.
Put it to the function and not the paycheck. So, okay.
Yeah.
Is everyone in agreement, or does anyone have questions, any further questions on this? Okay. So it sounds like we're good on that. Thanks. And
Okay, and then the next one was, if this is a joint project with another organization, please indicate the organization and describe the nature of that partnership, financial, operational, etc., and the role each, I can't find the section, each, I don't know where the rest of it went. Each partner will play to complete the project or something like that. I don't know. I don't know where the rest of my sentence went.
okay, yeah.
Huh.
So, and the role of each partner in completing this project or something.
That's right, exactly.
Okay, so you're just basically expanding on the original question then. Who and
But
how?
we didn't,
Yeah,
I don't think we didn't have an issue, and oh yes, well, it was, yeah, you're right, it said, who and how will you collaborate or partner with in delivering your project? So yes, so it's just using the joint project and partnership terminology.
okay. Any comments or questions from anyone? Seeing none, I think that looks good. It clarifies good, I think. Okay,
On the next page where it's asking about the sources of additional funding, I'm just tidying up the wording a little bit.
okay,
Okay. And then the next page has a list of the expenses. Please provide in detail the expected expenses of the project. Maybe we should change that to estimated expenses. I think I would prefer estimated than expected, but and that just kind of some of these things I just thought might have other headings or be expanded upon a little bit.
yeah, I think the intent's there. It's just, again, clarifying maybe, and like you said, some of the examples and stuff help keep people pointed in the right direction.
And more categories, because sometimes it's confusing when you receive an application to figure out, things are lumped in, and it makes it harder to understand exactly where the money's intended to be spent.
Yeah.
And again, on the line that at the top of that section, I think it should be, please provide in detail the estimated expenses for the project rather than expected.
Okay. Anyone have any comments or questions on that? Okay.
All
Okay.
looks good to me.
And then I thought there should be something about time frame, because I don't think there was anything in it before, or if there was, I might have missed it. So for the project or program, please indicate estimated start date, estimated end or completion date, duration of project or program in terms of hours, weeks, or months. And then please provide a detailed project schedule indicating relevant milestones. Again, to flesh the whole thing out a little bit, to have a better understanding of what they're doing. And it makes the applicant look more critically at what they're doing as well, I think.
I think those questions will come in really, they'll be really important if it's a multi-year as well. Because the
Yeah,
mile,
I was just gonna mention years in there
Yeah.
too, weeks, months, or years.
yeah, because the milestones and things like that, um, that would be good.
Yeah, and yeah, I think if they, for those projects, if you can see that something is, well, and you might, and actually, that's something that we didn't talk about. There should be maybe some, I don't know, let's not get into that. Sorry.
We're thinking the same thing, Diane.
Time here.
We've been
I'm
doing
sure
it
this
too
will be-
long. We're thinking the same thing.
I'm sure this won't be the last kick at this can, but. Okay, now this is where I really got, I saw a very, very nice grant application from the city of Mississauga. And it had it's really beautiful and maybe should have looked at it sooner, but it has an assessment criteria. And I know it's really, really long and I attached it as Schedule A. But if we like that, this little section there should be included, which says, please note that all applications will be evaluated using the assessment criteria shown on Schedule A attached to this form. So then I would have to look at Schedule A, but which I could do, but.
I've got it pulled up on the screen here. Does everyone see that?
Oh, great. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to pull it up on mine. It might be too much, or it might be even too much to look at tonight. And I do apologize for not thinking of it until today, but I think it's something that would help assess the value of the projects. Maybe it's too detailed, and I'm happy to go with whatever the committee thinks, of course, but anyway, I just thought I would put it out there. It's not fair that you don't have a chance to read it, though.
I
And that's
got
my
a
fault.
quick question. So I gave Schedule a quick skim there tonight, and like when they're filling out an application, will they have access to the policy that we've written that goes along with it, or will it just be the application form?
Go ahead, Brandy.
On the top of the application, it says that all applicants shall, I don't know if I use shall or what word I use, but it basically says that you need to read the policy. So the policy will be available, and I kind of seen the policy as the criteria for applying for any grants.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. If they can get a hold of our policy, that kind of takes the place of this. So this just might be a lot of extra that might confuse them. I don't know. And one thing I'd like to maybe add to the actual, I don't know if it'd be the application form or that would be something after the decision has been made by council, but some kind of expectation of like a after action report. So like after they've done their event or built whatever they're doing, or the milestones, that was a good one. Like if it's a multi-year, like some kind of a report to say, okay, we did pull off this whatever it is, this parade or whatever. This is how it went. And you can kind of compare the expected numbers to the actual numbers a little bit. I don't know if that's in there anywhere or not, but I thought it might be a good idea.
I thought we had asked for that, but maybe we didn't.
I think we've discussed it, but to be honest with you, I can't remember if I read it in the actual.
In the
Because I-
policy.
I think that's a good, there's two good points there. One is a summary report or something like that post-event. Yes, Brandy?
I think we have somewhere in the policy that they are required to
I
I think
report.
so too.
I thought-
Accountability and obligations. Yeah, so this has yet to be completed. Project evaluation forms with supporting documents must be
Right.
provided and submitted to the Treasury Department within 2 months of the completion of event or project. But in all cases, by January 31st, exceptions will be made if they're not completed by that date. Organizations must submit a financial report outlining the project income and expenditures and must attach any invoices relating to the project.
That's right. Brandy, I wondered in that if we should say by January 31st of the following year, just to, I mean, it's implied, but. Oh, actually, or should we change that date? Should we have 2 dates for that? Because of the 2 funding or the 2 application periods.
It might not matter just because depending on when the money is, say they get their money in the first application period, but the event doesn't start till after the second one has opened or something like that. So the end of the year is probably fine. I'm just wondering if, just in case somebody doesn't thoroughly go through our policy, if we should add a little blurb at the bottom for a post-event report, just as like a reminder on the application, or something, or maybe with the acceptance of an application and approval, we give them another piece of paper detailing what's expected of them after the money has been presented. Just some kind of thing to remind them, hey, we need to know how this went and if it worked or not. Just for things in future years, if there is more funding for that organization or something, if they don't pull it off and it is a disaster, it's like, well, your last 2 attempts have been a disaster. Maybe you don't get the money this year or something, right?
Okay. Brandy, go ahead.
The
I think
policy
that's a really
also-
good idea, James, and it could refer to that section.
Okay. Brandy?
The policy also states that they have to sign a memorandum of understanding. So that's basically them signing that they understand the policy and the conditions within the policy. So that would be clearly outlined within the agreement.
So
Okay, just so long as it's somewhere like very, very obvious. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm a big keep it simple guy, so like stamp it on their forehead on the way out type deal.
We can do that.
Yes, Joan, go ahead.
I like that idea of maybe just giving them a sheet with the application to send back in as to the success or failure. And I also agree with Schedule A. If it's a repeat of everything that's in the policy already, I don't understand the need for it.
Okay. I have another suggestion about the follow-up report. I know some organizations send out the report with the check. So when the check goes out, it gets the form and it kind of keeps it fresh then. Okay, we've got the check and now we have to remember to fill this out when the project is completed.
That's a good idea because that way they know what to keep track of, especially if it was a multi-year, then they'll be trying to remember what they did in year 1.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so I guess from what I'm gathering, we'll do just leave the policy and application and leave Schedule 1 off, right, or Schedule A. Remove it right now.
Yeah, and the reference to it in the application as well.
Yes. And in the memorandum of understanding, we'll be very clear on the requirement for a report back, and they'll be getting the copy of the report when they get their money or when they sign the memorandum of understanding. And also, I kind of envisioned it that if somebody asked for an application, they'd automatically just get a copy of the policy with it. It would be sort of almost part and parcel. But especially electronically, you just add it all and
Mhm.
you've got everything. Otherwise, filling out the application could be difficult. So, yes, Brandy?
Yeah, when it's posted online, the application is part of the policy. So it'll all be in one document.
Okay, yeah, good, perfect. So that makes sure that they get everything. So they have to read it themselves, but they have it. Okay. So does anyone else have any comments or questions or anything on the revised policy and application? Sure. You've made note of everything, Brandy. You're comfortable with having everything that you need, the information?
Yeah, I think I have everything. I would maybe recommend that it come back for one, just because there were numerous changes tonight, that it come back for one final reading by the committee before it goes to council.
Okay. Okay, so there could sort of be a wrap-up meeting for these, just to give the approval and make the motion for it to go to council at that time. And just thinking ahead for the evaluation forms. We've still got a little bit of work to do on the evaluation forms and the supporting documentation to be returned, I guess. So we could do that at the next meeting as well then. Does that work for you, Brandy?
Yep, depends when we schedule the meeting.
Is it better if we finish this and send it to council and then work on
That's,
so that it's
yeah, that's what I'm maybe thinking, in case there are
okay.
numerous recommendations for changes. I don't want to create the whole document to have to make more changes.
Okay. So that sounds reasonable, because if council council can review the application and the policy, and if everything looks good, then we know that we're good we've got that part completed, and then it's just a wrap up with the other documents. So that would be a good thing. And I think this time we can go ahead and work on the other documents while council's reviewing the policy, probably, because I can't foresee great changes coming. So, okay, sounds good. So if we're all clear on it and everything, then I guess we could entertain a motion to receive, how does this read here? Receive the report and so the recommendation could stand, and just at the end, it could be for the policy and the application to come back to the committee as revised or something like that.
Exactly. Sounds good to me,
Diane or
Jim.
Brandy, you guys are better at making those than I am.
so that the draft renewable energy grant fund policy and application and be revised as discussed and brought back to the committee for final approval before going to council or something like that.
Okay. Says here my internet's very unstable. So if I'm cutting out, well, I won't know it, I guess. I was gonna say wave, but I may not see you. Okay, so that we got that motion. Do we have a seconder? Joan? Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Everyone in favor?
All in favor?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. Motion is carried. Thank you. No, I can see everybody again. Okay, so we got that down there. I just wanted to make sure we had the upcoming meeting dates. So that completes item 6 for reports. Item 7, announcements and inquiries. We did receive, I guess I'll do it under announcements now. Brandy received notification that Ron Andrus is stepping down from the committee. So I think it would be appropriate. We wanted to make sure the committee was aware, and then we'll make council aware of it as well. And that I think it'd be appropriate for the committee to receive his resignation with thanks, and then we can, that way we can make a report. Council can be aware of it as well. Does that satisfy it, Brandy? Okay. So if there's any questions or anything, I really don't, he's got other commitments, I guess, that he needs to address, and so that's good. So
I'll make a motion to accept his resignation and thank him for the time he was able to spend with this committee.
thank you. So moved by Diane, seconded
I second that.
by Joan. All in favor?
Yep.
Motion is carried. Any other announcements and inquiries? Seeing none, there was no correspondence. So I guess the only other thing is the upcoming meeting dates. I don't know. Do we want to try to pick one now, or do you? Do we want to
I would
propose?
say yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to get into
And
my,
we're aiming for after the council meeting too, right?
pardon me?
So whenever that is, we're aiming for after the council meeting because they're going to take a quick look at it and send it back to us.
We're going to have one more meeting just to finalize all the revisions that have been made tonight to make sure everything is good. Then it will go to council.
Okay. And then after that, we're going to do the post-event report
Correct.
creation. Okay. Okay. I got you.
So I'm just looking at staff. I'm just thinking of timeframes that'll be required to have everything ready for us. Brandy?
That'd be up to Brandy, I think.
I can make the changes pretty quick. So if we want to shoot for 2 weeks from tonight, that would be March 11th, because I'll be on vacation the following week and not available.
Well, that works for me then.
Sounds good to me too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
If
I'm
every-
good with that.
If that works out, then we'll schedule it for March 11th at 6 o'clock. And I don't foresee it being an onerous meeting, I guess, if we're just going to be wrapping these up and setting them off. So, okay,
And through Zoom again?
pardon me.
Through Zoom again?
Yes,
Like online?
yes, it'd be virtual again online. Yes.
All right, perfect. I like to drive this way.
Yeah, it's a long commute.
And I'll try hard not to send anything.
I'll let it go.
Okay,
I
thanks, Jim.
appreciate the input. I mean, that's what the whole thing is about, is making sure we get this the best we can. So it's good.
And I like the fancy red line versions. They're kind of nice. I didn't even know you could do that.
Well, I'm very aware that I'm the only person who's not working, so although it didn't feel like that today.
No, no, I do appreciate the red line too. I think I mentioned that last time because it's really hard to determine what the original intent was and now what we want the final end to be. So that's good. So,
Thank you.
yes, Diane?
I was just going to thank Brandy for sending me out the Word document again.
We're well taken care of.
We are.
Okay, so I guess that wraps it up. The only thing left is a motion for adjournment if everybody is willing to end the meeting.
Yeah, I'll move that.
James,
I'll second it.
you will second it. Perfect.
All in
Okay,
favor?
and all in favor?
Yeah.
Yay, that's one that passed. No problem. Very
Thanks,
good.
everyone.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Have a good
See you on the 11th.
night.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.